Okay. If graphically you see my iPad crash, then just you can take this third monitor over here. I'm not muted. Mute. Check, check, check. I'm hot. Mic auxiliary. Oh. Yeah, can. Yeah, let me hot. Yeah, just make me hot during the open so that I'll have a chance to open it before the open's over. And we welcome you back here to LSM Television, where we are about to talk a little bit more about what's happening outside, outdoors, from coast to coast, and even as far to the east as Africa. Now we're going to be talking about what's been coming off the coast of Africa for days and days and days. Plus, what we've been talking about, too, is a hurricane into the west. It's no longer a hurricane. It is Hilary that is sitting down there to the south. Ready to air. Drew Richards with us here this afternoon. And guys, we talked about this last night. We had a bunch of viewers last night, and I appreciate all of y'all for checking in with us last night. We haven't been on a whole lot just yet because the weather's been a little benign. But Brett, at least here in the short term, that's no longer the case. Got a lot of big red X's and yellow X's out there in the Atlantic, and still watching the golf too.
We're definitely everywhere, Dave. This evening, we've seen things kind of ramp up a little bit in regards to um, the systems out there. We've had a couple that have actually formed this afternoon. We now have Franklin in the Caribbean. We have TD6 just to the east of the islands out there. I think it's going to get sheared apart. Don't expect it to last much longer. And then we got Emily out in the Atlantic is also fighting what I think will be a losing battle. And then we have our area of disturbed weather there in the Gulf of Mexico. And of course, we've got Hilary on the West Coast. So we got a lot of action that's going on at the moment. And, a couple of those are imminent, especially the one on the Gulf Coast and the West Coast with what's happening with Hilary.
Drew, what's up with you today, buddy? I know you've been working really hard on putting everything together here. Did we hear about? Lard says we hear about the earthquake. I don't know what he's talking about at this point.
Yes, sure did.
Where's
There
that
was a 5 point. Brett, correct me if I'm wrong. If you've heard about that, I think it was a 5.2 earthquake near, and y'all have to help me with this pronunciation. I think
Ojai.
Ojai, that's what I thought. Ojai, California. It looks like Ojai, but it's Ojai.
Yeah.
And the Weather Service out there tweeted about it, and evidently the National Tsunami Center tweeted about it. And I guess they confused some folks, saying there was not going to be a tsunami threat, but I guess some people read that as there was going to be a tsunami threat. So Weather Service, along with trying to do all the tropical storm coverage, they're having to go around and kind of put out the fire, if you will, from people thinking now there's going to be a tsunami due to the earthquake. No tsunami threat. The earthquake was a 5.3, I believe it was, near Ojai. And again, zero tsunami threat in Southern California from that earthquake. Just happened about an hour and a half ago, I believe.
Did you guys notice? I know one of the things that we were talking about last night, at least I know Drew and I were talking about it. Brett might have been on a potty break, but we were talking about how this was going to be an east wind throughout the entirety of this event because the low was going to be to the east. And so, at least synoptically, it looked like it was going to be an offshore wind for quite a while. And I know I made the comment that we really wouldn't worry about a surge. But did you see the waves in Newport Beach earlier today, Brett? I think it was on your channel.
Yeah, quite a bit of wave action there.
Big
Matter
surf.
of fact, heavy rain there. along those coastal areas as well. That storm didn't exactly just pull due north. I think some friction of the land there with it weakening has actually aided in it staying, right along that coastline. It's also pushing a lot of that heavy rain into areas of LA County there. I know we've got numerous flood warnings in effect up in that area at the moment. And that's going to continue. I mean, I think we do have an official landfall now there in the northern Baja, but it's been a crazy day. That envelope of Hilary extends well up into Canada now. This thing is super stretched out all the way from northern Baja up into Canada, where a lot of the fires and whatnot have been going on.
Is this our low?
It almost looks like it is.
I think
I mean,
I think it's going to be a little south of there. What I think's happened is we've got some displacement in the low level circulation and the mid level circulation. It's really being torn apart, for lack of a better term, at the moment. But that's the main circulation that's going to have a lot of the activity with it. We're going to see that continue to race, and I mean race off to the north. This thing's going to be north of Nevada by late tonight, early tomorrow.
yeah, kind of noticed that too. I was looking at it, but gosh, now it's so elongated here. I don't know why it's not. Oh, there we go. That was when it was 55. I don't know what's actually happened to it there, but anyway, it's very elongated, north-south elongated here at the moment, because we always had that dry air mass that was back to the west of it there that you can see. It was prohibiting anything from coming in there. The buoy data, I love these pictures too out there. Wouldn't it be cool if, like, you saw somebody in a little dinghy there just waving at you? I always want, this is neither here nor there, but I always thought it'd be cool to be dropped off in the middle of a hurricane in one of those big round plastic balls, and you could hang it. I think it's a great idea.
It is a great idea.
I mean, I guess. I mean, if
In the
if
world
you
of
say so,
Jackass, that'd have been a great thing for one of them to do.
give me just a minute. I'm gonna pick up the phone. I got Steve-O on speed dial over here,
Yeah.
and I'll see what we can work out. I mean,
Dude, Steve-O's
um,
on the run. Steve-O is not.
yeah.
I don't think you can find Steve-O. Last I heard, he was being
Mm,
chased all over the country.
him
Anyway,
or Bam, one of the
it
two.
was
Yeah,
Bam, wasn't it? Was it Bam?
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm not liable for anything I say because I still have an object, a foreign object in my body that I haven't gotten rid of just yet. Anyway, so
It,
that's what's happening out
it,
into the west. And we're not making light of that at all. The other part of this was that already some record amounts of rainfall have fallen, and it was like 0.33 in San Diego, and that set a new daytime record. And it's getting close to the monthly record, the third of an inch that they had earlier. And I don't know exactly what they have right now, but I'll find it in just a little bit because I do have a site to look over there. But then I also saw some 4 and 5 inch totals. Do you believe those are real, Brett? Those 4 and 5s over there in the
I
mountains?
think some of them are. I think it's in the mountainous terrain where you're probably seeing those higher totals, and that's also where we've got some video. I know we got Bryce live up there, but Drew, we've actually got some video. If you want to pull the video from our platform,
Sure.
of an I-8 rock slide. And I want to say that was in Imperial Valley, California, that we just got that in just a short time ago. And that's given me confidence that we're seeing some higher totals, along with that area just does not do well with copious amounts of rain. And when I say copious for those guys is an inch to 2 inches.
Yeah.
When you bring 5 or 6 inches into the equation in some spots, you're going to see some flooding, especially down in the valleys when that water's got to run off. But this area also, we talked about this last night, has dealt with fires over the last few years, and there's still burn scars evident out there. So that is going to create a mess in some of those areas where those burn scars still are located. So
Give me just a
And
second. Getting that queued up now for you.
just to reiterate about the burn scars, we know that the burn scars, after a post burn, there's an oily residue always left over there that prevents the next rainfall that comes down from being able to be saturated into the ground. So it just tends to run off, and then it creates a big problem there, because without any saturation at all, you're just piling up the rainfall. So a burn scar is what we're talking about. This is post-burn after one of the wildfires out there takes place. I didn't really see any right in this immediate path. I did look for burn scars earlier in the day today. And by the way, just about 30 minutes ago, we had a tornado warning just east of El Cajon that was out there into the Cleveland National Forest. It was radar indicated. I don't know that anybody saw it. But anyway, Bob Pack is with us. Is that the Bob Pack? Good evening to you,
That
buddy.
is the Bob Pack, Mr. Robert Pack.
Is it? Good to see you, Bob.
Bob was looking into going out to the West Coast, but honestly, there's so much in the way of media out west, especially in the LA basin, that it just is it's very problem.
Wow. Those are big, big rocks. Boulders.
It's a bad day. Yeah, think about the heavy equipment too. You've got to get in to move that out of the way.
Yeah. Nobody's gonna like that. And then the other thing that we were talking about too was the Gulf of Mexico. Brett's been talking about this a lot. We've been watching what's been going on here. This is from just a few moments ago at the blow up. This is the sandwich image here, which is a combination of visible image and the infrared. And what you do see is there's definitely some curvature. There's some outer banding that's ongoing, outflow as we call it, into the higher cirrus clouds. You can also see there's a couple of boundaries running across Cuba there that you can see the daytime heating, the landmass heating is causing some of the thunderstorms on the Guantanamo side of Cuba. But back over here into the Gulf of Mexico, that does look interesting, Brett.
It does. It's got a lot of we call it an outflow channel. It's got a bit of an upper level outflow pattern to it now. Now, the one thing that is an inhibitor, in my opinion, is you can see there's thunderstorms there off the Florida coast racing toward the west, kind of toward that general direction of where the system's located. And outflow is usually not something you want to see in the lower levels. So we're going to have to watch this, especially as we go into the nighttime tonight. There is a pretty good little envelope there of moisture, but you can see to the north of it along the Gulf Coast region where it's been really, really hot. It's very dry there as well. But there is a little conveyor that can follow, and we could see some development to a minimal tropical storm possibly before it makes its way into what looks to be portions of central South Texas as we go into late tomorrow and Tuesday.
Yeah, this is some of the other stuff that we were looking at as well, out over what we call the main development area, where we do have quite a few things happening here. Can you name them, Brad? I see Franklin is there. Then we got 6, which is about to be a 1 or a 0, because this is 6, isn't it? Right there.
They're
center.
saying that's what that is.
Yeah,
It's pretty dead. You see
all the convection.
Yeah, that one, and then you got Emily to the east of that. Honestly, the most interesting looking piece of all of those is Franklin, and that's it's blowing up pretty heavy there south of Puerto Rico this evening. We're seeing a lot of explosive convection right over top of the center. I think they found 1,000 millibars here recently with Recon. Recon is out there looking at that system. It's going to be a little west of that, David.
Yeah, let me see here.
Yeah, that one's 6.
That's Franklin.
There we go. That is Franklin. Franklin has a little bit of interest because it tries to start moving toward the north now. The question is, does it hit the Dominican and Haiti and disrupt it? But once it gets to the north, the forecast currently is to become a minimal hurricane as we get toward the end of the week. And areas of Bermuda, people within the island there of Bermuda may have to watch that in about 7, 8, 10 days as it continues to meander out in the Atlantic.
We've already got tropical storm watches up too. Looks like for Haiti and the Dominican Republic, the southeast end of the island, and looks like they're forecasting that to be a strong tropical storm, 65-mile-per-hour sustained winds as it comes across. Looks like that's going to be Tuesday afternoon coming across the island there.
Let me just go over here while we're sitting here. Let's see what Franklin's got here.
I want to say that
Go ahead.
the east side of the system, depending on the size of this system, one area you're really familiar with, Punta Cana, that could have some rough surf from that. But again, so far it doesn't look like we're going to deal with anything super major in the Dominican. But heavy rains there, they've been known to produce some catastrophic flooding every time a tropical system comes across that island.
You know, the sad thing about it is, too, you mentioned Punta Cana, and I know Brett knows about this. I was there a couple of years ago for the start of the hurricane season. I did a live report there, but many of the resorts there on the eastern side that points toward Puerto Rico, many of those resorts there, they didn't put a lot of thought into the actual, like the stairs leading up to one of the resorts there was a foot above sea level. I mean, it was truly remarkable at what they did with these structures. I tried to have discussions with them. I couldn't speak Spanish. They couldn't speak South Alabamian. So we had some trouble communicating, but I was like, I definitely want to be on the 6th floor here if something should happen there on the eastern side. The Dominican Republic there, very poor area. I went they are all about sugar and sorghum there for the rum that they make. And I went on a day trip with a fellow there who makes like $3 a day. He and his family, they live off of there. So it's a poor country anyway. And being on the right side of this, I could see the DR getting quite a bit of rainfall. And it looks like all those projected times. I mean, Tuesday at 2 a.m., they could start getting rain then, and it lasts 24 hours at least there, because you see the points between the time slots there are very close together. The S and the dot, they're close together. That means slow moving when you don't see those too far apart. So that could be very problematic there. We'll have to certainly be thinking about everybody. Let's see, this is for Puerto Rico, the amount of rain. It's 4 to 6 there on the eastern side, it looks like at this point from Franklin is what they're projecting.
Right. It's it's one of those things where it doesn't look to be a very major system, but there will be some impacts there across portions of the Caribbean as it does move toward the north. But that one has formed. It had recon is. Let me see if they're still in there. I was just taking a look at the recon flights. I was hoping they would have one in the Gulf of Mexico, but I don't know that it's ever going to organize enough to get one. Yeah. They found 1,000 millibar surface pressure with Franklin on their last pass. So, and it is moving a little north of west right now. So, pretty good winds there. I think our winds on Franklin are up to, are they 50? 45 mile an hour sustained winds. So
West-northwest at 14.
That's the one. Yep, that's the one. That's going to be the one to watch as it approaches the Dominican Republic in a couple days.
And then we got this new thing just came off the coast. This is for the, what is this? That's for the 40. Let's see. That has a decent chance south of, you can see south of the Azores there. The Cape, excuse me. And I don't even know. I've been out of the game just a little while because they probably even changed the name of the Cape Verde again. I don't know what you call it now.
No idea, man. It is.
Offend
it is.
But this again
it
says
is nasty.
Formation chance over the 7-day period is medium at 60%. So that that just kind of tells us that everything out there is at least doable. It's at least it's not shut down anymore. Last week I saw tons of sand coming in. Did you see all the sand that was coming across Africa and into the central sections of the Atlantic? And I thought this is going to be one of those things that maybe doesn't get entered into the whole equation here and could be a big time inhibitor, whatever you want to call it, from, if you're just looking at models, you don't really take into account that if you remember, I remember when sand started to show up, it was before the satellite showed it, Brett. Remember it showing up in the southeast, and we were like, what the, until we really figured out it was from Africa.
Yep.
I think I remember Jerry Tracy on TV going, this is from Africa. And I'm like, yeah, Jerry.
I mean, it's
I'm throwing up satellite real quick just to Franklin, and that is, yeah, like you said, Dave, that is quite impressive blow up south of Puerto Rico this afternoon. So we'll have to definitely keep our eye on that.
Yeah, is that Puerto Rico up to the top?
Yes.
The day today. So yeah, that one's an interesting little one. The thing that's really intriguing to me is, everybody has been talking about these ocean currents, El Nino, La Nina, when we have went toward an El Nino type year. Well, this is probably going to be that period of activity that we're going to get for the season because we've got an area of lesser shear right now. Now, the TDE that is east of Franklin is getting ripped apart by shear. A little trough there, as well as Emily. It's beginning to kind of decouple some too, and come out from under the deeper convection. Those two systems are likely to uh, one of them will disintegrate. The other one's at least going to get downgraded, and it could possibly just go back into a remnant low at some point. But yeah, this is the most active period that we've seen this season, and we're actually going toward the peak season. Right now is where on our graphs they incline from here to about September the 10th, and then we start to see things fall off, as we head toward the end of September into the October time period. So this is our active period, as climatology would tell us.
One of the other things that Brett mentioned last night that we really need to pay attention to, and if you haven't been outside today, maybe you don't know what we're talking about, but it is the heat that's returning to much of the country again, especially across the central United States, shifting a little bit further and further to the southeast. Very crude graphic here, but it does tell us what the story is. And as far as the forecast goes for the week ahead, this goes through Saturday the 26th. I think one of the things that I want to show you here, the first number is a forecasted record breaker. Like the 23 here would be the record breaker for the day today. 12 would be what is projected to be a tie. So 29 records in the forecast for tomorrow with 13 ties. 27, these are for maximum daytime highs, and you can see it goes up. The number keeps going up. 39 on Wednesday, record highs across the country. Notice the bottom number here, these are record minimums, which we haven't always kept up with those, but these are record 51 projected record low temperature highs. Did I even say it right then? The morning lows are going to be at record highs. Is projected on Thursday. So what we're talking about here is just some crazy weather that develops again across the United States here as we move along. Let me back it out here, and I can show you some of those numbers, Brett. And this is where it got kind of crazy. I mean, we'll start with Monday, and you can see they line up. I think you can see from as far to the north as South Dakota and as far to the south as Brownsville.
Yeah, David, there's going to be record shattered everywhere. It's just an incredible event across the midsection of the country, and then that's even going to spread further. The high pressure system in the mid levels is going to overspread a big chunk of the country. We're going to see record highs like you showing on the graphic there, 20, 30 records a day. And some of those records smashed. I mean, we've seen some all-time record highs get hit. I know Manhattan, Kansas this afternoon had a temp of 102 with a dew point of 84, making the heat index 134 degrees this afternoon. And I mean, I would think that would be close to a record heat indice as well.
Yeah. I was looking at some of those AWA stations, and the dew points are sometimes can be pretty wacky. I saw a dew point of 95 a couple of them.
Right, right.
There's some bad data out there too, but a lot of these records you mentioned here, I'm looking at them. ICT, who's ICT? Wichita.
That is Wichita.
That would be a record. Okay, so Wichita, that would be a record that was set in 1896.
Good grief.
Some of these are old records. I mean, their data starts in 1888, so that would be a big time record to break that in Wichita, and it's a degree. So the NDFD says 106, and the record's 105, set in 1896. Some of these are back from the global warming days of the 1800s.
I like that.
I mean, it's
I'm
insane.
just saying.
Yep.
Brett?
And like you said, I mean, Brett, you hit it on the dead middle of the target. 110 is one thing, right? With a 60-degree dew point, 55-degree dew point. I mean, it's hot. It's record hot, but you've got these dew points in the mid 70s to around 80 degrees with temperatures over 100. I don't know in my lifetime if I can ever remember the triple digits with almost 80-degree dew points so widespread over the middle part of the country.
Yeah, I don't
It's
either.
pretty insane. I can attest to that. It's been a minute. I know we had a warmer year last year, but I think this is the hottest I can remember since, I don't know, the late 2000s, the 2007 to 2008 9 type time frame. I think we had another really hot period, but
Yep.
this is getting crazy, and you can see just as you go in time how widespread those records or near records are going to be.
Yeah, I
Drew,
think
I got
07
underwear
was real
older than
hot.
you.
And hush now, David. I
So,
think
so
07 was hot, and what in 2012 was a really hot summer across parts of the country, if I remember correctly. So
Yep.
yeah, I do remember back, in the 2000s, in the early 2000s, I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee working. I remember we had, in early June, we had a horrible 100-degree and above for 10 days or something like that that canceled one of our outdoor festivals. But this is Wednesday now, Brett. I think I hit Wednesday. And again, we got 100 degrees. Even northern Wisconsin gets in on it with a 90-degree temperature up there somewhere near the St. Croix River, up in that area. But maybe what's even more astounding to me is some of these cities into the Gulf of Mexico region here, the 105 in Baton Rouge. Is that not stupid?
yes,
It is 100%. Again, we've talked about how the sea breeze has been nearly non existent this year. Sea breeze will typically come in and knock temperatures down some before they have the chance to really explode and maybe meet potential. But this is another case of where we're likely not going to see sea breeze again later this week. And then not only that, you've got outflow from a system that's going into the Gulf of Mexico. So on the outer fringes of that system, you have sinking air. So you've got just multiple factors that are problematic for that area this week.
That is a forecast of 105, and the record's 101 set in 1921. So that one looks very vulnerable. The 107 projected in Hattiesburg would break a 102 set in 1902. That's just how rare these things are. Pensacola, no help here. The record is 99, set in 2014, and there's a 100-degree forecast there. Mobile also. Batesville, that's a 102. The record is 99 degrees. And all the way over to Tallahassee, Florida, that would break a record set back in 2014. I went to school in Tallahassee, by the way, and that fall semester, I stayed in a dorm that didn't have air conditioning because of the sea breeze. We had a sea breeze every afternoon that sort of took care of that, so you didn't really have to have air conditioning in the fall there at FSU,
Yep.
although I wished I'd have had it. But anyway, let's go to Friday real quick. Just keep going. You can see some of the heat is suppressed down to the south. The records that are out there now belong to the south and south central and southeastern United States, even over to Alabama and up into the Carolinas here too.
and guys, I want to
Yeah.
throw you over to chat. Bob, that's a really good point that I have not thought about yet. Guys, y'all see that in chat?
Hold on a second.
About this, Bob says, would you not possibly conclude that the record warmth in the Gulf, meaning the water temperatures, could limit the sea breeze? That's a very, very good point, because the sea breeze is nothing but
Yes.
that
It would
differential
have
heating.
to. Yeah, it would have
And
to.
there you
Yes.
go. That's perfect. Good point.
Yeah,
Bob.
because you're not getting as big of a difference in your air and your water temps that would create that volatility and get the sea breeze really going. Even the sea breeze that you do get is not going to be quite as volatile, most likely. So that's a great point to bring up in this case. I mean, and it's not only that, it's hurting the sea breeze, and any relief is hurting the fishing. It's hurting, I mean, because the ecosystem, as we talked about, they're already dealing with issues. The fish are dying in some places because it's also helping deplete the oxygen out of the water. Just
Yeah.
very, very bad scenario. We need some rain. We need some rain really, really bad.
And then into Saturday, I mean, this hangs on, suppressed again a little bit more along the southern United States. We just say, like, south, along and south of I-20 and 40, it looks like a few records there, but still maintaining record highs into eastern Texas near the Sabine River, southward to San Antonio at 104. 103 still into Mobile. Tampa getting back in on it at 94 degrees. And Atlanta, that's how the term hot Atlanta got, which we don't like anymore. But 99, that would break a record. Well, 100 is the record, so it lets you know if you're within one. That was sitting 43 again, way back in 1943. So anyway, the definitely the heat is on. Take another graphic for just a second, Drew, and I want to look something up here if I can.
I'm going to throw up. I'm
You're
going to put up current wind. We're showing a little bit of wind in
I
California.
thought you
so
said
give me
you were
just a second.
physically going to throw up.
No,
I
we're
was
gonna
like,
throw
what
up
are we
some
going to do? Are
graphics.
you going to go to black? Surely you're not going to
Give
sit
me
there and
just-
throw up on TV.
Let me get our Mac computer loaded
you
up.
go.
There we go. And give me just.
No.
We are tracking some wind. Nothing crazy out in California, but I do want to show you this real quick. We're seeing some wind gusts of the 45 to 50 mile per hour range. I just noticed here near just east of the Warner Springs area near Borrego Springs, California. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. 75 degrees, sustained winds, about 36 miles per hour, gusting to near 50 as of the latest report. That's a 4:15 report out on the West Coast. Zooming back out just a little bit as well, I saw one more. I think it was down here in Mexicali, gusting. No, I'm sorry, sustained winds around 33, 81 degrees, some light rain in the area. And then Yuma, Arizona was gusting to near 50 earlier. Right now, sustained winds about 35 miles per hour, gusting to near 40, 88 degrees, again with some showers in the area. Way down here, way down south near Rocky Point, Mexico, check out that wind report. No rain, no squalls, but 91 degrees. Southeast winds sustained at 54, gusting to 66 at the last report. And that is well east of that center of circulation. Probably getting some wind off the water there, obviously, not being blocked by any kind of terrain or buildings or trees or anything like that. But still pretty interesting little wind gust there of 66 miles per hour. Well east of the center, right near the coast, San Diego area. Rain continues. Have a few flooding reports starting to pop up. Highway 78 washed out. Looks like just east of San Diego. And then all the green polygons you see here, those are flash flood warnings that have been issued for those main feeder bands that, again, has been rotating well east of the center. So we'll continue to watch that rain as it's coming in throughout the evening. Just stay in. If you're inside now, don't go out. Don't try to go sightseeing this afternoon, this evening, if you're out in that area, because again, a lot of roadways are going to have some flooding across it. Sure.
He has been out there patrolling the scenes, and we've got
Give him
some
a second to pull that
pretty
up.
substantial flooding. Okay.
Give him a second to pull that up, and I got some buoy data here that I wanted to show you. And look, this is from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers down in Key West. And other than the fall, I guess, when would you see the air temperature be less than the water temperature? It's the air temperature is 85, the water temperature is 88.5 down into the Keys. And then we've got some of these offshore buoys here are reporting. Yeah, let's see. Here into the Gulf, especially, you've got off of Apalachicola. Now, Appalachia Bay, that's east of Apalachicola, is a rather shallow bay, and it's typically warmer than most. Now, you go to the west, and you'll find where the water depth goes down pretty well. But you can be in 35 foot of water and not see land in Appalachia Bay. But the water temperature there is into the 80s for the most part. And one of the big buoys that we like here, 42039, which travels quite a bit, has a water temperature that I don't see there at the moment. But the air temperature is 87. I'm sure the water temperature is going to be close as they typically are. The water temperatures are in that area there too. So anyway, that's what's happening. I love my buoy data here.
Wow, I've got that video pulled up, Brett. Yeah, quite impressive, Dave. Let me take this full screen just for a second. And boom.
Where's this? That is Cathedral City, and if you want to see, if you want to pop over there for a second, back to my iPad, Drew, for just a second, and we go
Sure.
back to the video, just to show everybody where Cathedral City is. This is where it is there in Southern California. It's east of Los Angeles, north of San Diego, not too far from the Salton Sea there, as you can see. But Cathedral City is one of the old areas there in the desert. It's in Riverside County, and right there, not too far away from Palm Springs, I guess. Palm Springs is just off to the northeast, so I know Palm
And you
Springs
can
pretty good
see
well.
that that's a lower area there, Dave, with all the topographical mapping you've got. You can see that water's likely rushing down the hills, going down into Cathedral City. So those lower lying areas are most definitely going to deal with issues as the heavy rain continues, because the water out of the hills is also going to pile up there.
Yeah, you can. I mean, if you sort of look at the basin there, you can see up I-10. I've driven up I-10 before to 29 Palms to see a friend one time who was in the military. But that is as you go through that area there, all the way up to the north, you're down into the valley right there, and then it runs over to the water there. That's just Salton City's right there on the edge of that as well. Coachella, you often hear about, is in that region too. But you can see a bunch of desert there and a bunch of higher elevations on the bottom south side of what we're looking at here at the moment. And then you got your little mountain range that's ongoing there. You got all kinds of different topography in the region, but the one thing that we do know is that it doesn't take a whole lot for that to pile up and become like a river. And there's some of the what is going to be I saw, was that Army? Couldn't tell.
Yep. Look,
National Guard. Hmm. So, where we are at the moment is we still have the whole area there underneath a watch. Let's go back here and look. I think they may do something with this watch area or warning area. I guess that's still going to be a tropical storm warning down to the south, although we don't really have too much in the way of tropical storm conditions anymore. But we do have quite a bit of rain that's still falling and some banding features. You can see these little areas right here. See how the banding is taking place here in some of this? And that's where we actually had a tornado warning a few moments ago, about an hour ago, I guess now. We got 73 over 73. So it's relative humidity is high all through here, and we're just going to see a continuation of rain. I actually saw a lightning strike earlier as well. I don't know how real that was. Riverside back down to the south, the Corona. There's some of your heavier rain that goes up to Pomona and into Los Angeles County there, also to Lancaster and to northward. And then this goes off to the northeast. Brett, you and I were talking about whether or not this would get to Vegas, and I don't really know what the forecast is in Vegas. I guess I should probably look that up, but I think some of that rain's going to head that way too, by 75 there, or 15, excuse
They've
me,
def
75.
they've definitely had some rainfall over the course of the last little bit. Again, they're another area that doesn't see a ton. But a matter of fact, it is raining in Vegas as we speak. Some pretty heavy stuff down on the south side of town, down near Boulder City, going toward Henderson, down in the El Dorado Valley. Goodness,
Say it 3 times.
El Dorado
You
Valley.
don't have to.
Maybe that came across.
It's pretty good.
Anyway,
I liked it.
But yeah, a lot of the rainfall also, you don't see it as well on the radar because topographical influences are there. That radar beam is shooting so high, and some of those mountains block those radars that are pretty close to them.
Yeah.
So, in areas where it may not look like it's raining on the map, you're probably still seeing some of that rain. It's a pretty wide and broad envelope of activity out there.
And hey, Brett, what's crazy too? We saw some flooding yesterday in Vegas at one of the casino parking garages there. They only picked up about a third of an inch of rain yesterday, and so far today they're at 0.41, so approaching a half inch of rain in Vegas. So a little bit under an inch for the 2 days, but that just goes to show you these places just don't see that much rain. So even the what we call, down here in the southeast, that's just a summer shower for us. But out in the desert southwest, that causes a lot of problems.
Y'all remember the earthquake in Vegas
Chaos.
a couple of years ago on July the 4th?
Yep,
I
I
was
sure do.
I was there at the Bellagio when it happened, and I was on the 45th floor and saw some. Uh, there was some beverages like up on the wall, and they started clanging together and everything. And again, we were way up there, and I didn't know what was going on. And somebody says, "It's an earthquake. It's an earthquake." And then about 45 minutes later, it rained, and I thought, probably not supposed to be here, because locusts would be next, wouldn't it? I mean, there's really there's a point to where so love Vegas. Appreciate it, and appreciate the kindness of everybody out there. And who we got? We got Richard Head is with us now. Killer's Opinion is with us. Someday I'd love for you to explain that to me, or maybe not. Maybe at this point it's best we don't know. But then we've got, who else do we have with us? Not any names left. And Samuel Esquivel is with us as well. Thank you for being with us here this afternoon. Bob Pack with us this afternoon as well, talking a little bit. He gave us a couple of ideas. And also Shifter Spanner is with us as well. Is there like a Joe? Can somebody get me I need a Joe or somebody that I can actually pronounce here. Cleroyster 2. Am I reading that wrong? Yeah, it says like the normal humidity and temperature in Savannah. That's very true. Some of the hottest days I've ever had were in Savannah, Georgia. Jackson, Mississippi comes to mind. Dothan, Alabama, before the sea breeze gets there, is a really tough place to be. Anywhere where you've got water around, you're going to have humidity. So I understand what you're talking about there in Savannah.
Yeah, and it's this doesn't look like it's going to stop, at least in terms of the heat for you guys. It's just widespread. I'm telling you, it's going to stop eventually, but I think we've got another solid month of at least really really warm weather ahead for a good chunk, especially east of the Rockies. Um, I don't see anything stopping it.
Craig says we need a Vergamat.
Oh,
I don't know why.
oh, was that jazz hands? What was that, David? I'm not real sure. I mean, we got some people throwing their hands up to you in the chat here.
No, Wally threw his hands up, so I don't know what this
Ah, I
means.
got you.
I was trying to say, hey, I see you there, Wally. I see you. Thank you for being with us here this evening. We didn't know if we'd have an audience because it's a little bit earlier in the day than when we normally are on. So, but we did have a lot to say. Drew always has a lot to say, so we had to get him on the air as quickly as possible so he could expel what knowledge that he has to everybody. And he's been studying for most of the day today, so we let Drew get a lot of stuff off of his chest today. And Bryce Shelton is right up here, and Bryce is. Did Bryce fly out there? Do you know, B?
He did, yeah. Bryce flew into Vegas this morning. Actually, drove out of Vegas. Vegas is quite a bit easier to fly into than LAX. We got Bryce out there. Ben McMillan is out there with crew Todd Rector, Brandon Clement, Jonathan Petramala are out there together. They've been kind of meandering around out there trying to find things today. They've found some pretty good stuff as well. A lot of people are. It's really interesting because a lot of these observers, videographers, and stuff. There used to be only a few people that you would see travel to do this type of event a couple years ago. Now it's like the whole world is trying to impin down on one of these events, and a lot more activity, video wise, coming out. So we're seeing a lot more reports too, in my opinion, than we used to because there's so many people that are out looking for these different events.
Meanwhile, one of the things we did notice here is 46047, the buoy that's off the shore there in Southern California. Sea surface temperature is 68 degrees. So if you want to talk about the death of a hurricane, that's what was one of the things that was happening is everything. And I don't know, the sea surface temperature is about normal out in the Pacific. I haven't heard. That's something I really haven't studied.
Well, there's a reason that we don't see tropical storm warnings in Southern California, and that is because we don't have the conditions typically from a sea surface temperature standpoint to support tropical development or a hurricane that far to the north in the Pacific. Usually, those waters off California are generally much cooler, and they just don't support it. Now, further south, closer to the equator, off southern Mexico, that's where our main development region in the Pacific is located. We usually see storms form down there, and as you can see, this one did that, formed way down there. It curved to the north, went into the weakness, but over time, after it became a major hurricane there for a while south of the Baja, once it crossed that 26 degrees Celsius thermal line there with the sea surface temperatures, it really started to degrade its core rapidly. So that's something that happens a lot out in that area. But most of the time, we don't see a lot of the rain move up into California. Usually, it'll curve on into Mexico, come up across Texas, and even into the deep south.
And there's a look at Hawaii, pretty clear there today, but the conditions there are still, there are still people to be found. I didn't look to see what the number was today, but I know we've got again, not every house has been checked just yet, and they're still having to do some of that. And just now, getting to some houses that haven't been checked for casualties, for fatalities. So that's still a breaking sort of a situation out there as well. I know Brandon was out there, wasn't he?
Yeah, Brandon was out there. He flew directly into LAX for this, and then also Derek Smith is still out there. He's going to hang out for a while. It sounds like he lived on Maui for about 6 to 8 months, so he knows some of the people there and has kind of embedded himself and is. I think it's more of a personal element to the story for him, so he's staying out there to really document it and also assist with the help. It's just, what can you really do in some of those areas because they're just completely torched. It's one of those things where the rebuild process is going to take a very long time, and it's probably going to be weeks before they let anybody into their actual properties that were completely burned down because they're still going through looking for remains because they've got cadaver dogs out
Yeah.
now.
This was reported just 47 minutes ago out of a newspaper from the UK called The Independent. They're reporting Maui's wildfire death toll now reaches 114, and the emergency chief resigning over the criticism from the sirens not being turned on for that event. When they did have quite a few sirens there that a lot of people thought, I think some of at least the thought was they wouldn't be turned on with the exception of tsunami. And there was a little confusion about why to alert these sirens, turn on these outdoor alert sirens. So he did resign.
Yeah,
And
I saw an interview with him, and I guess his thought process, which I found was interesting. They only have the tsunami warning sirens near the water. The fire, he said, at that point, They don't have any warning sirens up in the higher elevation. So the thought process of why he didn't turn the sirens on, which of course is a whole nother story, he was afraid that people that were near the ocean would run inland and go right into the fire. So that was his thought process of not sounding the sirens. But again, I thought, well, would they not have enough common sense to go outside, see what in the world is going on, and then take appropriate action? But again, that's a story for another day.
Sadly, it takes an event like this to even consider. I mean, I don't guess they'd considered that possibility until this event happened. But still, at least 1,000 people are unaccounted for. They don't know if they're at somebody else's house or what the case may be. But that's still a developing situation there. And so, Brett, unless you got something else to say, might wrap it up a little earlier or something else.
I know that you are working to, you got some company coming, and we were able to show you guys. We just hit it right on time where there were some pieces of video coming in. I am going to be traveling along the Gulf Coast. There's a little disturbance in the Gulf just to keep an eye on it. I'm going to travel over into Texas, most likely, where this is going to come in the next few days. Maybe have some heavy rainfall. I'm in a backup truck still, so I'm going to have to test some equipment. We'll be running a stream over on Storm Tracker Brett Adair channel as well. If things get out of hand, David may be running coverage over on this side. If not, I'm going to run the channel over there. Drew and I will be over there running just a stream from the truck, and we'll be interacting with you guys in that event. And then we're going to be watching the other system as the Hilary moves up into California and ejects. We're going to be watching Franklin, because if Franklin so happened to be a Bermuda strike, I would be going to Bermuda for that system. So, it's been relatively quiet, other than just immense amounts of heat. And I think we've covered it pretty good. Bryce is still out there in California. You can watch him on livestormchasing.com. He'll have a GPS video running, and then obviously stay tuned to the YouTube channel here. All of our videos will continue to compile as they always do. And we'll be working on cutting some pieces. I'm sure we'll have some shorts and that type of thing, giving you updates on the situation as Hilary continues to push up into the interior western region.
All right, guys, we appreciate you being with us again. We know it was a little bit of an odd hour, a little bit early, but it is hot outside, so we figured some of you would at least be inside to check us out here today. And if you got time, you want to leave us a little note about something else. Josh just joined us and says, "Evening, folks. What's going on?" Josh, day late, dollar short, bro. We'll probably be on again. I know Brett will be on, like you said, streaming tomorrow, and we'll find a reason probably to be on again. The tropics are beginning to shape up a little bit differently, well, a lot differently than they have over the past month. And NHC saying it was going to be above normal rest of the season, so we'll see about that. And if we get any of that information, we'll pass that along to you too, or just get on here and talk about the weather. We got plenty to talk about when it comes to the heat over the next couple of days. Drew, you good? You want to say anything? Would you like to give your parting shot? Would you like to say?
Just thanks everybody for tuning in as always. We appreciate you guys.
We do appreciate it. And again, we're LSM television side here, and we appreciate you giving us your time this afternoon. We'll wrap it up for now, and we'll see you again next time. I have to end it, don't I?